everybody, and welcome to a brand new experience. This is going to be something very different. The green light has gone on, and we are underway for the first time ever at the Bud International Circuit in India. Welcome along to coverage of the first practice session for MotoGP. It is an hour and 10-minute session, extended from the 45 we usually have in this first session, in order to give everybody enough time to acclimatise to the circuit, to get used to the circuit as well. And the timings are now live, so everything running in sync. Get in touch with us on the Twitch chat. And if you're watching the premieres on YouTube, this is how this weekend is going to work. We will have practice live on Twitch only. That includes qualifying. So both of those sessions all of those sessions going to be live. And then the only things to air live on YouTube this weekend are going to be the Tissot Sprint and the MotoGP Grand Prix. So that's it. Everything else will be live on Twitch with premieres on YouTube. That's because we keep running into issues with Dorna with copyright strikes. We've now got 2 out of 3 while we're appearing. We're trying not to get anything else done. So Twitch becomes our safe haven, and this is where we go for it now. So if you're watching us now on Twitch, the session is not live. If you're watching on YouTube, the session is not live. But we've been doing the Formula 1, so this is our chance to watch delayed coverage of the first session as they head out onto the circuit. Hasn't changed. Oh, hello, already a rider down, and it's Michele Pirro on the factory Ducati who's gone down on the 51. So Michele Pirro has already gone down on the circuit, down at turn 5. Now, for those of you who know let's just see how we did it first of all. So Marc Marquez walking through. He's gone on the F1 layout, and he's just dropped it there as Allwood. Jorge Martin following in there as well, forgetting where the layout is. There's been a lot of controversy coming into this weekend as well about the Indian Grand Prix, visa issues. You can watch it all on the Grid Network as well. Visa issues being the key factor, because when we started this on Monday, several of the media representatives and everybody in the paddock didn't actually have any visas to enter the country. So it took a long time. It's been a very rushed effort to get here. Then there was worries about the track safety. We've had Moto3 and Moto2. The riders have been out there as well for MotoGP, walking the circuit. Everybody thinks that this is going to go okay now. As running straight on, Aleix Espargaro having to stop before going in the gravel at turn 1. This is very much a learning curve. Oh, and he's in the gravel now at turn 1 and 2, kicking up some dust. So this is a learning curve for everybody out there on the circuit right now. The track, of course, was in use for 3 years in Formula 1 in 2011, 12 and 13. Then Formula 1 left due to issues with the Indian government and tax and everything. So we left. And the track hasn't been used since. It's the same tarmac. There's cracks. There's a few weeds around. There's a nasty bump. But seemingly, they've done their best to get this track ready. It's not the brand spanking new tracks we're used to here. It is pretty much a spit and polish, but it's working. It's looking okay, and we're sort of enjoying it, sort of not enjoying it, waiting to see what's going to happen. So yeah, you can see the layouts below me actually on the screen. All the information for the Bud International Circuit. There's Takiki Nakagami looking on as well. So, yeah, it's going to be quite interesting. But let's catch up with the TNT Sport crew and see what they think of it all.
Say in Moto 2, there's a proper element of camber there. The riders can throw it in. They were trying different lanes, trying to figure out whether you could really reel the berm right on the outside. Looked a little bit dirty. We did see a crash in Moto 3 right on the very edge of the racetrack. So it is, yeah, it's going to be a good corner for these MotoGP machines. I think they're going to have slightly different lines than we've seen so far. So these early laps maybe cleaning the racetrack up a little bit, where the MotoGP bikes tend to cut the corner a little bit tighter to really pick the bike up and accelerate off onto the long straights.
This is turn 1 again, as
Mark
is a little
wide.
bit deep. He's got form actually for new racetracks. I was having a look at the stats yesterday. So let's go from 2013 when he started, of the racetracks that will be new on the calendar. Circuit of the Americas, Marquez won it. Termas, Argentina,
Marquez won it.
Red Bull Ring 2016. Remember who won that one first go?
Marquez won it?
No, Andrea Iannone.
Yeah, Iannone won it.
I literally done that bad there, so easily done.
The trap, it was so obvious, and I just fell into it. Both feet in the trap.
Buriram in Thailand, though. Buriram in Thailand?
Marquez.
This one Marquez won it.
Yes, he did, you're right. But
2019.
the last two that we've had on the calendar, Algarve and in Portugal, the key there.
Oliveira
Oliveira won it, 21.
Indonesia. Mandalika.
as well.
Oliveira.
Oliveira won the two.
And Marquez, the ones with form for learning tracks quickly. So maybe that will give us some sort of guide as the week goes on.
Oliveira didn't know the track in Portimao, though. He did. An endurance race the year before.
Yes.
Yeah. And he won in Mandalika in the wet.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's advantage Marquez if we look at the statistics.
Except he's on a Honda.
And that's a massive disadvantage coming into it as well this weekend, learning between them all, as we know how bad the circuit is at the moment. Okay, so SHT says, I'm back again. Hello, SHT. Among the 3 Formula One seasons running here at the Indian Grand Prix, which year the Indian Grand Prix had the best race in your opinion? 2012 was quite chaotic. 2013 was a walkover. Well, no, to be fair, they were all walkovers by Sebastian Vettel. Sebastian Vettel led every single lap, took pole position every single lap, and won every single lap. So Vettel, India was just Vettel's circuit. It was the only one he completely dominated. So in my book, they're all pretty much the same. I'm having to rack my brain a lot to think about a good Indian Grand Prix. I would have to say 2011 was probably the opener was probably its best one. Soon after we left here, nobody really wanted to come back in 2012 or 2013. It was that type of circuit. Nobody liked it because the commentary boxes here were literally just caves with no windows, and nobody liked it, and they were under toilets as well. So nobody liked this track. Nobody wanted to come back. It was a great venue, but to race at, but no, in terms of the layout, but nobody wanted to come back here. So I think with F1 it felt clear. SST saying, I know 2013 India has a highlight with Grosjean's climb from 17th to 3rd. Massa and Hamilton collision 2011 as well. I think 2011 stands out for me. 2 dogs on the track, Hamilton and Massa colliding. Rowan Atkinson, of course, Mr. Bean going like that in the pit lane as well. I think that one stands out to me, 2011. But no, I don't know. I liked the track. I can remember looking at the track for the first time just before the race started, because the F1 game came out in 2011, a few days before first practice, and I got to look at the circuit. I thought, oh, it's a bit challenging, this one, and it was. And I remember Massa in one of the years clipping a curb in qualifying and breaking his front suspension. So there are moments here in India, but it's weird because this is an old F1 track. And literally, it's an old F1 track that's been abandoned. There's barely been any running here since 2013, and now we're here for a MotoGP race. But Simon Patterson, who's been amazing this week as well. First feedback from Moto3 rider. Grip is not great, but not too bad for the first session on a dirty track. That's good news. So yeah, hopefully he's going to grip in quite quickly. But we've got an hour to fill, 70 minutes across both sessions, of course, to give everybody the chance to get used to the circuit. Megan's back with us this weekend. You'll hear from her in the Tissot Sprint and the feature race on Saturday, Sunday in the commentary. Bagnaia goes 10th. It's Martin fastest at the moment, though, from Marini, Aleix Espargaro, Marc Marquez, Alex Marquez, Ralph Fernandez, Marco Bezzecchi, Ian Zarco, Fabio Antonio, and Pecco Bagnaia, the top 10 at the moment. TNT.
That's what it would be.
Yeah.
And it feels like that. It is Portimao-esque. But then, and even on TV this morning, actually, it was really interesting to see. And you look at the last turn, and you look at them in the straight and braking for turn 1. And it's actually hard to tell if they're here or in Sepang. So there's a lot of similarities. Obviously, the weather as well and the humidity is similar to Sepang. A very complete track, really, really interesting technically. And with the MotoGP bike, it's going to be a lot about handling, except for that corner exit of turn 3 into the straight, where power and efficiency of the height devices and aero is going to be really important. The rest of the track is very flowing and very technical.
You see they're all just trying to get a feel for the circuit. Different lines there between Martin and Marquez in front of him. Marc Marquez, who actually had a decent weekend over in Misano, he laughed about it yesterday and said, well, it's a decent weekend these days when you're battling for 8th. But that's the situation that he's in there at Honda.
There's a yellow.
He said yesterday.
As Brad Binder's gone down on the deck. Brad Binder down at turn 1 in the gravel, and it's deep gravel here because it's brand new. It used to be a tarmac runoff for Formula 1, so Brad Binder's down at turn 1. He's made it a long way in. Some sort of aero cover, engine covers come off on the side of the circuit there, so not 100% good news as Binder turns in. Yeah, lost the front and straight into the gravel. And that's going to be a feature, actually. The amount of gravel about the exit is going to bring you down constantly. Let's have a look. Korea also held F1 only 2010 to 2013. And talking about KTM, both riders are not safe with their spot. No, they're not. Binder and Miller not safe either. They want to bring in both Danny Pedrosa. They want him full time, and they want also Pedro Acosta to come in as well from the Moto2 category for him to have a go. You'll be able to catch up with the Moto2 race from San Marino on the YouTube channel and on Twitch. That's going to air tomorrow as well, as we try and catch up from all the mess we've had with Dorna and the blocks. Bezecchi's had his lap time counter for track limits. They're also not using exactly the same layout as Formula 1 used. There's a few cut-offs around on the alternative circuits that were designed for motorcycles anyway, because back in 2011 this track was designed for motorcycles as well, so it was the idea that they were all going to come here, and then MotoGP just never did. It's taken, 12 years to get here since the circuit opened and modified now in 2023. We say modified, it's barely changed. It's very, very barely changed from what it was beforehand. As we get Luca Marini fastest, yellows out again, sector 1. Jack Miller up into turn 3. And then a long, this is what the Indy is famous for, the long back straight. It's the longest straight now in MotoGP, this back straight, over 1,000 meters. And of course, Jack and his wonderful wife welcomed Pip Florence Miller to the family, little baby girl, of course, over the past few weeks, and baby and wife Ruby doing incredibly well, which is great news as well. Pedrosa just doesn't seem to have lost any of pace, to definitely deserve a full-time riding seat, says SHT. Yeah, absolutely. So there's going to be a lot to look forward to there with Danny Pedrosa coming back into it as well. A lot of traffic coming through turns 5 and 6 then at the back half of the track. So who've we got here? Marquez, Marini, Bezecchi. Yeah, well, who's that? Is that Marini? Yeah, so it's Bezecchi involved there too. So a lot of traffic right at the back. Luca Marini's top at the moment with a 147.880. So good time for him coming through as the current situation of things come through. Yellows, sectors 1 and 2. Fabian Quartararo in the Yamaha. I don't think it's a crash. I think the bike's just stopped on him. And where is he? It's down the back straightaway actually. So it's on the run in towards turn 4. The bike has stopped and he's now on the F1 layout running it back. So not 100% good news for him as he'll come in and push it back. So Yamaha having a nightmare season as well. Yep, it's getting worse. The bike's died on the run down towards turn 4. Can't upshift, can't change gear. Pulled it in and that's it. Good night Vienna as he goes on the F1 layout. Right, we'll head back to TNT. So they got news.
Really much, he said, that's helpful for this year. Didn't seem that upbeat about what Yamaha had at test.
No, he said that the scoop they were going to use here, and that can bring a little something. I mean,
Marquez
in my
off
experience,
the track.
trying the scoops under the bike, the spoiler, that you can see that Marquez is running as well. That adds a little bit of rear contact in the braking zones, especially at high speed.
That was at turn 1.
It's very, very small difference that makes. So yeah, I think, you know, on the Yamaha and the Honda side, the riders were expecting a bit of a, let's say,
they're all off
revolution
at 1.
or a bit of a big step, you know, a new concept to work on for next year. But it looks like so far they've not, that's not what they got.
Michele Pirro heading off to the roadside.
Everyone was off at 1
there, isn't he? I mean, that's a long way out. You can see
turn 1.
Yeah, you can see all that protection. You see the Alpina protection. That's all been flown in from Austria and Italy this week. All that extra protection just to
and
make it
Bezecchi's
safe.
been
There
held
you
up
see
by
frustration from
Martin.
Marco Bezecchi up onto the Formula One part of turn 8, which is on the outside of the racetrack. They've done a lot of work, haven't they? You can clearly see there are still some areas where they've had to bring the extra protections. You mentioned it, I think it was turn 6 yesterday, looked a little bit tight.
Yeah, turn 10 as well.
Turn 4, they've got in air fences. Turn 10, as you say, there was air fence on the outside. And so, but they've worked, haven't they? They have tried to make it and done what they can. And there's a big riders' meeting at the end of the day today, Sylvan, if I'm right.
Yeah, I mean, with all the new tracks, it's really interesting for Dorna and the FIM to get the feedback from the riders once they've ridden as well. Everybody try and work together to make the safety better, to always to strive for improvements. But somehow we just had low expectation for here before we came here, and we know the track not been used for a very long time. Since F1, they've had a few races here with one race?
We only had one
with
Asian Talent
Championship.
Cup race.
Mia's got straight on at one.
2016.
Yeah, so this would have taken a tremendous amount of work to bring it to these standards that we can see now. The track looks sorted, and they've done a great job. So it's nice to see. It's nice to be pleasantly surprised as well, because we've seen videos, but they must have been old videos. They didn't look like that at all. It looked derelict.
Yeah.
And when you look at the track today, it just looks like it belongs on the calendar.
Yeah, speaking to Indian journalists, there have been a lot of work going on. They've put a lot in. There've been people making sure that this place, because obviously what the Chief Minister of Uttar Pradesh saying, this puts them on a global platform, and we know there've been problems in the past with sporting events coming here to
Formula One.
India. Seen it with the Commonwealth Games, seen it with Formula One, and there have been issues, and they wanted to make sure that basically this is India's open for business. There's a big investor summit that they're having here on Saturday. The rumour was that Narendra Modi was supposed to be coming here. Whether he is or not, I don't know, but that's what we were told by Dorna Communications. So, they're seeing this as a big global sporting event, getting out to millions of people around the world. India's, we know, is a powerhouse and growing economy.
Oh, Miller twitching into one.
Huge market. Yeah. And for the manufacturers, I mean, we've seen going from the airport to the hotel and to the track in the morning. You can see there's bikes everywhere. So yeah, obviously it's really important for the manufacturers and for the championship, and it's great to have a new venue as well. It's so nice and refreshing, to go somewhere new and explore different countries as well.
Yeah, a lot of...
Absolutely. Just happy that the issues at the start of the week, which everybody thought, oh no, the race is going to get cancelled because no one's going to be there with the visa issues. It's nice to see that everything's so far running smoothly, but it's far from being plain sailing this week. Honestly, there's a lot that still needs to be improved upon for the Indian Grand Prix. Visas, accommodation, access as well. It all needs tidying up a bit. The track still needs a lot of work done to it. It's okay right now, but it needs a lot of work still done to it as well. But the passion's here. You can sense that here. You can sense that the fans are here wanting to watch it. You can sense the people behind the sport are wanting to do well. So a bit like with Formula One, there's a need for it, but as ever, the need and the passion, does it outweigh the greed and the corruption of others that cost Formula One and the Commonwealth Games as well? So there's a lot that still needs to be sorted here in India, but I'm very much looking forward to seeing the circuit back as well. I would have commentated on all of the Indian Grand Prix races here, which is great news. He's
out of gear and he's in the
yeah.
there.
It's like he's lost his chain.
yeah.
Chain's gone, on the back of quite a while. That's what it was. You heard him look down and think, oh dear, something went.
Is it rattling as well a little bit?
I thought whenever you heard, I never like the noise of an engine whenever it
Yeah, so
loses
chain
its
went.
drive, but
Yeah, so the chain went there on quite a while. Yeah. Pulling the throttle back, no chain, yeah. So that's too loose a chain on the bike. Comes off at such high speed as well. And it's like a chainsaw at that speed as well, so you've got to be really careful to get it right. Aleix Spargo is the fastest. He did that while we were talking. 1:47.611 from Luca Marini, Maverick Vinales, Johan Mir, Augusto Fernandez, the top 5. Martin, Marquez, Bagnaia, Miller, Polo Spargo inside the top 10 at the moment. 50 minutes to go then, as we see Franco Morbidelli embarks on a new chapter with Ducati. He's joining Prima Pramac going forward, and that shuts the door, number 1, for where Marc Marquez could go. Increasing likelihood that Marquez is either going to stay with Honda for another year, or he's going to sort out a deal with Granesi and buy into the team and ride with Marc Marquez. So it'll become Granesi Marquez Racing, we're hearing. So there's a lot still going around there. But there's Zarco's 2 bikes back in the pit lane now as well. And Franco Morbidelli will be joining the Prima Pramac team going into 2024. Nice open runs there. What do you think?
And I mean, there's no better timing than now for him to get on that bike. I think he's going to do great. You know, he's gonna. I feel like he's going to get on that Ducati full factory bike at Pramac and be competitive straight away. This is it's a massive opportunity for him.
Into the pits comes Maverick Vinales.
Vinales back down pit lane on the Aprilia. When you look at it on a track map, gents, as Augusto Fernandez goes up into 2nd place, a good start for the rookie. He'll enjoy the more level playing field in terms of track knowledge this weekend. But when you do look at it on a track map, what bike would you say this track suits?
It is a difficult one because you've got all the long hanging corners, and then you go, well, that's a Yamaha or an inline 4. Obviously, the Yamaha, the only one remaining on the grid. But then you look at
the Aprilia.
that actually works like an inline 4. Yeah, you could be right.
Aprilia,
not massive hard braking, is it? Which is where they've had their Achilles heel. Do you know what I also thought, because of the long straight, a Ducati, but that's saying nothing, because the Ducati works everywhere now, doesn't it, in general? And it turns so well. But Aprilia for me was the one I was thinking about.
Aprilia gets out well on the corners as well now. I mean, in Austria, which is a stop and go track, they didn't deliver in the races, but Maverick had a great weekend until the races. He only didn't get good starts and was really hampered by that. But he had great race pace, qualified on the front row. So the Aprilia kind of works everywhere now.
What about in terms of getting everything ready for the weekend? You talked about how the teams would prepare things. How about Michelin? How did they go about getting tyres and brought here for the event?
Usually they'll send an engineer out quite a bit in advance, and they'll take a sample of the tarmac. They'll actually create a little actually, there's a word for it, I can't remember what it is, but it's basically a square. They'll replicate it, they'll bring it back, and then they'll do their analysis and then select the tyres based on that. But yeah, so it's not quite guesswork. They do put a lot of science in behind the scenes on the calculations of what tyres from their range they will bring for a new asphalt.
It's going to be tyre pressure challenges, aren't they, this weekend?
It's hot, so yeah, and there is some hard braking around that track as well. We've got a long straight to cool it down a little bit, but yeah, it's going to be challenging. You know, we know currently with the current tech rules, it's a lot of pressure on the front tires and a lot of stress on the front tires.
So there's Pecco Bagnaia just watching on. I'm down here. Hello. Jorge Martin getting ready for another run out on the bike. Hops on and away he goes. Oh, and Zarco's going out too. Zarco ahead of Martin there. So looks like they're going to do some team runs together to see what the bike and the track are like. Wise idea. It's a free practice session. Practice later on this afternoon is what's going to be. Get up close and personal with Jorge Martin there as well, with his bum coming into shot there on the camera. Yeah, so it's going to be later on. That's going to be the big important session, really, with everybody understanding the run-in. This is why we had to get a longer practice one, 70 minutes in total for the practice one and practice later on, because they need more track knowledge. 45 is just not enough on a brand new circuit to go in and then do a qualifying, effectively, a pre-qualifying for practice later. So that's why we are slightly longer in this first session, extended by 25 extra minutes. We've done that now, so we're into our normal 45-minute procedure of an opening practice. But it's Aleix Espargaro from Augusto Fernandez, Luca Marini, Maverick Vinales, Franco Morbidelli. Practice starts will also take part after this session. Quartararo's bike back in the paddock now.
Your Wikipedias, or you look on the MotoGP website. Actually, we were told the straight was just over a kilometre. We got here, we went around the track yesterday.
No chance.
We said, that's longer than wherever, longer than everywhere. And then we've done a bit of a measurement on Google Earth. Anyway, when they finally measured it all officially yesterday, 1.22 was the distance from inside of turn 3 to the inside of turn 4.
Yeah, long straight.
Yeah,
And all in a straight line.
Yeah, it's not quite Mistral in Paul Ricard, but not far off.
I was just about to ask about the Bol d'Or. How long's the straight there?
That's 1.2 miles, so 1.8k. So yeah, quite a bit longer.
And that, I mean, the hammering on the engine in a 24-hour race.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
In the Bol d'Or.
Span, and you get into the straight as well in third gear already. So it's quite fast left to go into the straight.
The onboard's great because you just hear it's wide open for the
But
last.
you get at the end and your neck hurts, from
Big under.
crouching and putting your head up. And for 24 hours, it's actually absolutely horrendous because you spend it's about 25 seconds
straight onto one.
flat out. With the obviously the pressure and the wind of the wind on your head.
Just a quick mention of the pit lane exit. A couple of people were saying about that being an issue. What's your thoughts on that?
I don't think so. I think it is a bit close to turn 1, but it's not on the racing line. The racing line is completely on the left, the braking, and it gives the rider time, to look and they can see if somebody's coming. So I don't see that as an issue at all.
We've got others like that, haven't we, over the years? Mugello or Sepang itself, actually. We'll talk about that one where it's the obligation there. The onus is on the rider exiting pit lane, isn't it? Just to be well aware of who's up the racetrack. So he's down towards turn 5. What struck me most, I think, here, wide track, flows a lot more than I thought from the track map. I think it's because when you see a track map and you see around here,
It
around
looks stop-start, yeah.
Oh, sorry, this is in 6 and 7. Then you all see into 8 and 9. When you look at a track map, you think, oh, is that a big, long hairpin? But it's not. It's a massive, massive bowl of a corner. But what struck me is the elevation changes. How much there are.
Yeah, there's quite a bit, and it makes the track really interesting. And this is what reminded us of Portimao. You look at turn 1, turn 2, then going up in the braking zone for turn 3. It's really, it makes the track more interesting when you're riding around with the elevations like this. You get on board on the bike, you get places where, for example, in the braking zone of turn 3, because it's uphill, you're going to be able to really bury the front there, and then it flattens out, so you have to release your pressure a bit because you're going to lose a little bit of grip. You can use the camber of the corners as well to your advantage, and you have to learn to do that. So these guys right now, they're trying to put all the puzzle together, trying to learn it as fast as possible and find the most efficient way to go around this track. It just makes it more challenging and more interesting for them.
You just saw Stefan Bradl, a new Castrol livery for LCR Honda this weekend. He's in as a replacement again for Alex Rins, who tried to ride Fireblade. There's a documentary about that you can go and find out there. MotoGP.com have got it on their site too. The fourth part of his injury recovery docker that they put together. But unfortunately, Alex still not fit enough to come back here or Japan.
No, he's still recovering. I mean, the leg break that he sustained it's a big injury, that. So he's had to have a couple of surgery on it, fix it first, and put like an external fixator, and then get a nerve surgery to fix it all. So yeah, it's going to take some time for Alex. He's got a factory contract in the bag as well with Yamaha, so he's not in a rush to come back. I feel like maybe the last 3 races, starting in Sepang and then Qatar, these are 2 tracks that are not like extremely physical with the way you ride there. You can be kind of like nice and flowing. Sepang will probably be quite a good track to come back, with the heat, and you can like ease yourself in again. So yeah, I want to come back before the end of the year to find some rhythm again. But yeah, like I said, he's not desperate, and after a contract as well, so he's going to wait until he's fully fit to do so.
Good lap here from Marc Marquez, having a nice marker up front with Fabio Quartararo, but you can see, actually, we talked about it at the top of the session, Marc, when it's a new track, the Honda doesn't work anywhere this year, but he's going to jump up to second.
Marc Marquez P2.
Not a bad way to start his weekend.
Nice.
Why is that? Why are some people better at learning tracks than others, do you think?
For Marc, he's Neil talked about it earlier. The two ways to approach it is go bull in a china shop, just go in there as hard as you like, and that's Mark all over. Or just build up each corner, go a little bit deeper in the brakes each time around, tip in a bit more aggressive, pick the throttle up earlier, whereas Mark just goes all out. So he did have a good marker there, chasing Fabio, and it looked like the Yamaha was turning quite nice, and you could see where Mark could gain a little bit in the braking zones. But yeah, for Mark, that's his. That's something he's always been able to do. Just go fast when the grip's low and people don't know how hard to push. He'll just push it to the absolute limit.
You saw, though, the Yamaha pulling out of the corner better than
because
Honda.
Mark is making all the time in the braking zone, so he's actually losing a bit of time in the corner exit. Also, I mean, naturally, when you follow somebody, there's always this kind of elastic effect. Obviously, the guy that is in front, he's braking for the corner earlier than you, and then you're gonna. So say you got a half a second gap. The gap is going to look much smaller inside the corner at the apex with lower speed than it is, you know, as you get into the straight. So you're going to get this yo-yo effect. But saying that, Mark is making the time in the braking zones. That's where he's strong with the front feel, and he knows it, and he's using it to his advantage.
It was beautiful through there, wasn't it? The way they've already almost sussed out that 8 and 9, keeping it on the side of the tyre all the way through. Good lap from Fabio Quartararo. This round turn 12. Dropping down a hill once more.
This is
see
better.
Where they brought the curve in there to force them away from the barriers on the outside. And then this tight last corner, which is going to look inviting on a last lap.
What
Yeah,
about
this is great.
fifth?
And that's the first thing we saw with Neil yesterday when looking at the track.
Oh,
This is
Jorge Martin, 147.049 jumps to the top. Look at Marini, P2, 147.399. Some remarkable early lap times coming in here. What about Marco Bezzecchi? And jumps up to fourth with a 147.672. Times were still quicker on that banker lap times. So it's not looking too bad, this. Oh, huge accident. Takiki Nakagami at turn 1. Bike in pieces in the gravel trap. He's walking away. Medical's there. Looks a little bit winded, and that's got in quite deep if it's that far into turn 1. There's a long runoff area there. And that's going to help unzip him on the... bike's turned in. Oh! Well, he slid into the gravel trap okay, but the bike's dug into the gravel and bounced across. Oh, nasty one there. How much of it? So that bike's destroyed. He luckily is okay. The bike is destroyed. Huge impact into turn 1. Digs it. The bike. He comes off. Hearing brake problem. So he's come off into turn 1. Hit the gravel. He stops. Bike, however, catches it with the rear chain guard. Launches it over the top and rotates several times into the gravel before flying down. That's a huge accident. I hope he doesn't have to stop the session. Didn't hit the air fence though, which is good. So no sign of a red flag, just the local yellows at the moment. Martin looking good in sectors 1, 2 and 3 actually. Quartararo 4/10 down. Marquez is up, so across the line. Marquez first of all goes third. Quartararo goes fourth. Martin at 146.817 goes fastest overall with better times on the board.
a lot of opportunity
Yellow
to take
clear.
big points left, and he knows he's got a chance. You can tell he's feeling really confident. You know, he's in Misano as well was another confidence boost. He obviously capitalized on the fact that Pecco and Bez didn't feel too good physically after their big crashes in Barcelona, and you know, won the race in their home turf. Oh, that was close. Yeah,
Marquez has
From
saved
there.
the front ender at turn 12. Ken looks impressed.
Unfazed as usual.
As always. Ken Kawauchi.
Oh, and that's another.
Is that turn 1?
Yeah, another technical. He rolled
Oh,
out
is that
as he
Quartararo?
braked into turn 1, so...
This could be due to the sectors as well. The bikes, like with the electronics, are linked to the loops of the lap, and then so if they have a
No, but again, it's the same.
What's
on the straight.
going on?
Yeah, it looks like again he's losing power, losing drive.
That's something then, the electronics guys will have to have a look. That maybe something's not quite mapped right, some sort
Yeah,
of
normally
some code or
the
something.
bike resets itself every time you like go past the line, and so those bikes will use the the loops of the tracks to to kind of like apply different setup for different corners.
Both time it happened after the finish line there, but also
He's
when
ready,
it happened on the back
straight
straight,
on.
the first intermediate ends just under the tunnel, under the bridge.
So
sorry,
it could be with the
everything going
I
wrong
think
now.
This will be the reason why.
So Aleix runs
turn
it.
one with Aleix Espargaro.
Yeah, runs it deep as well. Just go straight on.
Turn one is catching a lot of people
Yeah.
there. It's a hard braking but short distance. So it's really easy to miss your marker a little bit or just push it that little more. You brake 5 meters later, and you're not going to stop. You're going to run out of space very quickly there. So it tightens up quite a lot and more than you think. So the riders will get used to that. But yeah, early on we're seeing quite a few mistakes.
Fabio Quartararo, frustrating start for him to this session. His pace is there though, 5th quickest early on.
Yeah, promise. Obviously, the new spoiler. I don't think that's what it's down to. We did.
Same.
Oh,
it's the same
identical.
thing.
Yeah.
Identical. That
That's
can't be
scary for the
changed,
engines when you
surely.
hear that over rev.
Yeah.
It just loses its load, so it's not pulling anymore.
And that's
He
on
was lucky
two
that
different
Mark went,
bikes.
right behind him as well, because you wouldn't expect that if you're in the slipstream, the bike stopping like this.
That's two different bikes for Quartararo to have a
This is
failure
not-
on as well. That's
This
not
doesn't
good.
sound like it's firing right either. I think it sounds like an electronic problem. This.
It's happened again, look, he's saying.
Probably
It's
the
happened
first thing he'll
again.
be saying to his engineers, I need to get that one sorted. Jack Miller's decent start, 8th quickest for him early on, goes up to 4th now. As I say, wasn't at all phased by the temperatures, whereas some of us almost couldn't keep your eyes open. There's that much sweat dripping in them. He was just seeing it as a summer's day back home in Queensland, in North Queensland. As Mir comes to the line, up to 5th. Wow,
That's
Joan Mir
refreshing.
starting.
Seeing Joan doing well, that's great. That's great. He's had such a terrible season so far. It's been so difficult for him with not finding the right feeling and crashing a lot and hurting himself. So yeah, nice to see him at the sharp end this morning.
The thing about Joan Mir is we have known it since he was a kid, since he stepped on a bike. He has unreal amounts of talent, doesn't he?
Yeah.
And it is just a blip that about everything he's going through, that the class is permanent there.
Without a doubt, he's a front-end rider, someone who really breaks late, uses the front tyre to its maximum, or did so on Suzuki. Not able to do that on the current Honda. It just locks up, it crashes when he doesn't anticipate it's going to let go, and it gave him a confidence of crisis in the summer break and wondering whether he wanted to continue. But it's nice to see some good positive signs after the test. Does sound like there's a little bit of a pull in one direction and another pull in a different way with the 2024 bike and what Honda brought to the test in Misano.
There was Pecco Bagnaia bailing out in
Bagnaia.
the middle of turn 8. It looks to me like they're trying to make not a V, but they're trying to get to a point between 8 and 9 to then fire it back round.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's not looking too great, is it, at the moment, this track? It's seeming to have a lot of grip and then all of a sudden no grip. It's dirty. It's very dirty, this track. It needs cleaning up. It's going to take a long time. That's why we've had the extended sessions across all classes. Try it again. It's why we've had the extended sessions across all classes to try and get it in position. But it is working, because like Martin fastest, 23 thousandths of a second quicker than Luca Marini. So the times are there, the deltas are there to be found. So you've just got to sort of breathe, roll with it, and sort of have faith that the track will come to you. So it's not all over yet. Bagnaia a second off the pace now, as he does a 1:48.004 to put him 14th fastest as well. Interesting first session then here for the Grand Prix of India. A lot of intrigue, a lot of interest to see what's going to happen as Bagnaia on a turning vein, just trying to get the wheel straight. A lot of aerodynamic features will be coming to play here, no doubt. 30 minutes to go then. 30-3-0 in this session. Extended because it's a brand new track. Needs another layout. Didn't find that out until this morning, no. Yeah, they didn't tell us. Just casually put it on. Everyone thought, oh, it's an hour. Nope, extended sessions. Aleix Espargaro running wide and wants to get into the gravel down at turn 1. That's going to be interesting. That turn 1, and another one going in straight behind there as well. Augusto Fernandez. That first corner is, nobody is braking right. Everyone's going straight on through it in the Premier class. That's going to be very entertaining in the race going forward. So we'll keep an eye out to see what we're going to see here in MotoGP. 30 minutes to go then. There's Bagnaia, Aleix Espargaro and Marc Marquez running together. Bagnaia's held up Aleix's lap. Aleix backs out of it. Marc says, OK, I'll get the 12th to Ducati. And off goes Bagnaia down at turn 13 as well. Marc's going in the pit lane, I think, so he's going to allow Aleix Espargaro to go through. No, Marc has not committed to the pit lane as far as that. Yes, he has. So through goes Aleix, and Bagnaia follows him in. Aleix gets a nice run out to have a run to the end of start of a lap. Now, does he hit turn 1 right this time? On the brakes, into the first corner, turns it in, gets it bolted down, and yeah, it doesn't look too bad of an exit there. But it's just so much problems for everybody out there. So many issues to keep focusing on. 29 minutes to go.
And that allows them to unleash more power and accelerate harder. So, yeah, the try is definitely worth it. And this is where the major gains have been made in the last few years, you know, making the bike more efficient in the acceleration phase.
Straight away, Jorge Martin gets the... wonder if that towel's been in the freezer, but a towel straight on the head, try and get as much sweat away. He's a fit lad, is Jorge. Oh, they all are. Say that about one rider in particular. They all are extremely fit. But some will deal with the heat better than others. Yeah. Undoubtedly.
Yeah, of course, yeah. It's I mean, it's a strange feeling when you go on a bike like that, with your leathers, with your helmet, you know, your full kit, so, and it's hot, you know. People that can be super trained and super fit will, you know, dehydrate themselves much quicker than others, and that's just genetics, and it's hard to train for it. So you can heat train, you can get used to it, so train your body to cope, you know, with the mechanism and cope with the like cooling down and kind of like get used to the feeling of feeling hot, feeling dehydrated. But your core temperature is going to raise quite a lot, especially during the race where they're not able to rehydrate in between the runs. You know, you could finish the race in conditions like here with a 39, 40 temperature, so it feels like you've got a massive fever and you actually feel like ill in yourself.
So how do you bring that, you know, what's going to be the key now during the session and after the session to bring that core temperature to ice bath?
Yeah, you can do ice bath, so you can do pre-cooling. That works quite well before putting your leathers. Right. So you're basically delaying the sweating, delaying the heat. Coming after the sessions as well, ice baths are really good because it's a great way to recover and a great way to cool your body and your core temperature very quickly.
I've seen, obviously, you at the Suzuka 8 Hours, for example, obviously. It's not far off these kinds of conditions, is it?
Oh, it's worse. Suzuka 8 Hours is the worst conditions that I've ever found anywhere. When it's hot,
the humidity, the sweat isn't working, it's not.
Yeah, there is the heat, so you can get, you know, 36, 38 degrees, so it's not crazy heat, it's very hot, but it's the humidity, it feels heavy, it feels like you're inside like a wet room, and so in those conditions on the bike, and Suzuka is quite a physical track as well, you get dehydrated very quickly, so you can, you know, in a relay, like an hour relay, you can lose up to 2 liters of water.
Actually, I was reading an interesting article recently. I spoke about it yesterday about the fastest way to cool the body is actually your hands and your feet. Because of evolution, obviously, there was never any hair ducts in the palms of your hands or your feet. So cooling gloves and cooling socks can work. They're starting to try it out in different sports, riding in hot countries, to bring down the core temperature. So everyone thinks head and body and your main areas to cool are in an ice bath, but it's actually your hands and your feet that are most effective. And the doctor who was talking about this was saying, think about when you're in a cold room at night and you've got a blanket over you and you put a foot out of bed. That's the thing that regulates your temperature faster than anything else, and it is because of evolution. So apologies for any creationists listening out there. Evolution is a thing. But we did
Michael!
We're not getting down there.
We're not going that way.
Down these routes. This time in the morning, Michael, we are coming up to midday here in India.
Well, we're on about a 45, 50-minute delay or something or other well, actually an hour and 10 minutes, I suppose, delay, to what it was on the, because we're watching the session delayed. 25 minutes to go then. You're seeing the full times out here for this amazing first session. Just so long as well, waiting around, and for my understanding as well, because we're watching this session delayed due to the F1's free practice 2 session. The Moto 3 session that's currently live has not started, and it's been delayed about 30 minutes so far, and it was a 55-minute session, so that's going to put everything back quite a lot in terms of TV viewing figures, which isn't great for me because I'm shattered and would like to go get some rest after this. So it doesn't look like I can at the moment, which is interesting, but thanks to everyone for sticking with us at the moment here. As Oliveira tows Maverick Vinales down towards turn 4, 1,080 metres down to the braking zone. 24 minutes 26 to go in this.
Well, this 70-minute session, these guys are going to be losing similar, aren't they, now?
Yeah, it's much shorter here. And like I said, though, it depends. You know, I know some guys that sweat. It's what they call the sweat race. So some guys sweat more than others, and some guys can cope better than others with the heat. But for sure, as soon as you start getting dehydrated, your performance decreases, your reflex decreases, you start to the vision start to change as well, and you start to be less sharp and just generally more tired. So there's so far you can go with the dehydration. And yeah, I experienced that firsthand in Bordeaux. It was a disaster because I was ill and I wasn't able to rehydrate myself. I ended up really dehydrated and in a very bad way.
Miguel Oliveira just labouring to find his way around the racetrack. He's ahead of the 2 stand-in riders in Bradle and Pirro in 20th. But that's it. So just as you see Maverick Vinales go past him and pull a second and a half on him pretty much around this second half of the lap. Yeah, it was almost exactly a second and a half. So Miguel not quite working for him just yet. Maverick was about to go deep there in turn 1. There's a lot of challenges to figure out on this Bud International circuit. Track itself is 3.1 miles long, just over 5 kilometres. And Jorge Martin is the fastest around it, 146.8 after the first nearly 50 minutes of track action in MotoGP. A reminder, these lap times are not relevant as regards qualifying.
So,
Bit of a haze, a few clouds overhead. Big rain, big fat rain, wasn't it, yesterday afternoon?
It was bouncing. Just as the track opened for the track walk,
wasn't it?
And yeah, the period whenever everyone goes to inspect it, it absolutely hammered it down.
The clever ones were the ones who'd taken the umbrella out with them to hold the sun off, because suddenly they had some form of protection. Although if you do see some of the riders who were out there, they were even with a little bit of the wind that picked up, even the umbrellas weren't too much out because they were being destroyed because it was heavy. Into the final corner for Jorge Martin. Dominant performance from him last time. Keep that kind of form going. Wow, he will be a threat in this championship. 36 points the gap between himself and Pecco Bagnaia.
It was over 60 points at one point, wasn't it? So yeah, Martin is doing a good recovery, feeling comfortable here, obviously, from the word go, using those wings again in the front, those 4 wings. Pecco's got them back as well. So obviously he looks like for the Ducatis, they are enjoying the extra downforce in the front part of the bike. There is quite a lot of slow corners around here. I mean, there is quite a bit of accelerations as well. They need to find that efficiency. I feel like this is going to be a massive headache today and tomorrow for the engineers. Imagine the data they're going to get after this. And they're going to have to try and dial the bikes in as soon as they can. It's going to be a race against the clock for them.
Well, is that where, as we see Jorge Martin into turn 6 and 7, is that where Ducati have the edge?
always.
8 bikes full of data.
They've got so much more information, and it's shared across all the teams, and then the engineers plough through it. And actually, if you look in the back of the Ducati cards, the amount of red uniforms that are buried in the laptops, they're looking at tyre degradation, they're looking at gearbox, chassis, lowering device, making the electronics marry with all those systems. And it is, I do believe it is the ability to crunch those numbers better than the others, and they've got more data to pull from, so it sets them apart at the moment.
Into the final corner.
Zarco 147 on that last lap time around as well, looking good. Martin 148 445, still fastest with
Off
20
the
minutes
pace
to go.
on this lap. No, he's gone with a fork leg aero as well.
Yeah, fork wings, yeah, and Pecco's got them as well. See how quick the bike accelerates to 300 k an hour. It's just unreal when you look at the numbers going. Those bikes are just absolute dragsters.
Took a while for that one to sit down and on the back there bouncing. Gino Borsoi watching on.
The Prima Pramac Racing Team manager, if you didn't know who Gino is.
There's a slightly awkward moment in the press conference yesterday. There was a moment between Gino and Jorge Martin after the race in Misano. It's almost like trying to build a bit of needle between Pecco and Jorge, and I do think this championship is far from over. It could run, but at the minute it's all friendly, it's all everyone's on the same camp on Ducatis. But yeah, you could see there was definitely something in Jorge beating Pecco in his backyard at his track, but yeah.
Well, he said the line was, and he did it. I did it at his home race or something like that.
Yeah,
it was good of them to play it while they were both there in the press conference, but they sat to each other. Awkward. Obviously, Jorge Martin delighted to win in Misano, in Pecco and Bezzecchi's back garden.
He dealt with it well, I thought. Also, were teammates once upon a time, Martin and Bagnaia, at Aspar Mahindra, a good Indian connection for all the top 4 in MotoGP that were on stage yesterday. And as Matt Burt pointed out in the press conference when he spoke to them all took their first podiums with the Indian manufacturer.
did they? That's interesting.
147 668 for Martin.
With the Ambrosio team, was it back then? I can't remember what it was called. I think it was something like that. Marco Bezzecchi and both Bagnaia and Martin Bagnaia, of course, taking their first victory.
Yellow flag.
2 wins with them.
Sorry, yellow sectors 3 and 4. Don't know why as of yet. Just got it come up. It's done at turn 12, so... Well, there's no rider. Oh, it's Pol Espargaro. And he's crashed, and he's running away in towards the air fence and behind the barrier, so he's okay. Bit of scuff levers on his bottom. So presumably the front bike's dipped away from him, and he's gone straight on wide. So we'll see if that changes in a second. Yeah, it looks like exactly that, actually. I've just seen the top of the bike's just in the gravel on its side, so it looks like he's turned in, the front's dipped away from him, and he's skated along the bottom to come to a stop. Luca Marini, fastest with a 146.515, fastest across all of the sectors. Alex Marquez, 11th fastest, 147.896. Stays in place. Could have found a bit more time to find, but not too bad. Okay, it's going fine, this session. It's a normal practice session for a new layout, so not too bad at all. Keeping it together, and fingers crossed it's going to be a nice, smooth weekend with no issues. Saying that, I think turn 1 is going to be interesting on the sprint and the feature. Let's take a look at how Pol did it then. So turns into turn 12, right-hander, front dips away from him, and exactly as I said, bike in the gravel and a little trip on his bottom for Pol Espargaro, ripping the back of his leathers. Oh, and you can see his underwear, it's gone down to it. Nice across the board there. New undies, please, coming through, 16 minutes to go.
Sticking with the soft front, that gives you a bit more feedback, a bit more contact, a little bit more movement as well in the rubber to understand the grip a little bit better, and when the track will get cleaner and they'll be able to push a bit harder, they'll try the harder compounds that give more more solidity and more support in the hard braking zones, because it is quite hot out there, so it's not a temperature thing. I think it's more of a grip issue at the moment because the track is still very green. And medium rear, they were using that because they want to keep the softs. So they limited number of softs that they will need to do the time attack and to do the sprint race.
They get one more extra tyre this weekend because of the extended sessions, but Pecco Bagnaia says that wasn't enough.
Oh, really?
Says they're going to be really tight on tyres this weekend. That was his feeling before the weekend.
Yeah, I think they'll be fine.
Just reporting what the world champion said to me yesterday, Silver.
Nah, they'll be fine. They can use those tyres. Do a lot of laps, so yeah. Riders always want more tyres because it's fun and because it gives you another opportunity to have a go. So you want some more, but yeah, they can use the tyres for a lot of laps. You know, those tyres resist to a lot of abuse.
As we expected, Marini's time has been taken away. Now, Marc Marquez currently running fourth, just behind his brother Alex, who's got into third. Raul Fernandez just popped up into fifth place as Marc is front.
This is Marc of old. He looks so good.
Maybe he sees this as an opportunity this weekend. You know,
100%. Yeah.
You know what he's like. Any chance of there to score a goal, if he just sees a little opening, he'll have a go for it, won't he? He's lost none of his edge. We've seen that so far this year. Still willing to throw down the road. He has crashed more than anyone else. That's despite missing 3 races early on this year. And he's improved and gone ahead of his brother. Just lost time as we saw that front in that third sector.
But it might be the best session of the season for the Repsol Honda duo. Joan Mir sat in 8th. Marc doing what Marc does, up in the top 3, fighting the bike, making it pull all sorts of shapes there. But it actually looks like Marc, what he could do a few years ago in the old generation RCV. So hopefully the test at Misano has unlocked something, or give them a little bit of direction at least.
Do you remember when the time, back in the mists of time, when 2 Repsol Hondas, 10th and 4th? That's rubbish, isn't it? You know what I mean? It's not that long ago when you'd expect, whether it be a Marquez and Pedrosa or a Stoner or whoever in those colours, outside the top 5. Oof, bad session for Repsol.
Yeah, it just shows how much progress the European manufacturers have made. You know, with the Ducatis being so good on every track, and there's 8 of them obviously. The Aprilias that have come on tremendously. The KTM has done that big step this year. It's made the competition is tough out there, and the Japanese manufacturers are playing catch up for now. So yeah, it's a tough time for them.
Sorry, so just another Johan Zarco having to
down turn 1.
just pick it up.
I got a good feeling for Zarco this weekend, Gav.
Strange, not like you.
And he's on the poster as well, on the main poster. And he
is, yeah. The Battle of Champions.
They know something.
They've been speaking to you. Have you been the marketing consultant this weekend?
Look at that corner there.
It's great.
Marini going wide all the way up the bank in there to then cut it back. Great turn now.
They're getting out of there quite tight. I expected even the MotoGP boys to use a lot more road on the way off of the turn 9.
Because they need to pick up the bike, and because it drops, the bike will just wheelie a lot. So they have to try and get it in line as much as possible to use the power. Looks like there's some bumps as well on the left. That would unsettle the bike a bit. Oh, Marini.
Good lap there.
Bezzecchi on the attack, yeah.
Bez.
Yeah, Bezzecchi looking good across the line. 2,000 off Bezzecchi. 25 thousandths of a second. Separate the top 3. That's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. 48 thousandths actually separate the top 3. 25 thousand between Marini and Bezzecchi. But top 3 within half tenth. That's madness. Absolute madness. This track has been brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. It's going to take time to wean it in, but I reckon by this afternoon's practice session, the hour and 10-minute one that decides Q1 and Q2's running order, be ready. Then free practice 2 tomorrow morning. We'll do something as well. Qualifying after. It's an interesting weekend ahead. I'm optimistic about this, and fingers crossed it's going to be good. As Martin at 146.817. Miller, 147.371, goes 8th fastest as well. So I'm optimistic about this.
Like everyone else, rolling on at
Oh,
turn
and
1.
Miller, yeah, off at turn 1 as I look
Again,
back
you
up at
can
the
see
screen.
paint was being picked up, couldn't you?
Into the
Yeah,
grass.
someone's catching a few people now. There's probably more people that have been in there than.
I just wonder then,
not.
is it? It looks like you'd have good reference points because there's 2 grandstands there.
It's because it tightens up.
Yeah.
You go in there and it's one of those corners where some corners you always feel like you got a little bit of margin, so you come in and you kind of like play a little bit with the front brake to regain the rear contact, and you can do that. This one looks like as soon as you're gone. You see that Miller there brought that tiny bit too late, lost the rear contact. The rear was kind of in the air and doing a lot of rear slip, and there's no chance of saving that. So it looks like it's just a very, very sharp corner.
Beautiful shot of Jorge Martin.
See the way he uses his body to pick up the bike. So what he's trying to do there is use his body to still turn.
Finish off the turn.
But having the bike as upright as possible to limit the wheelies.
A bit Pedrosa-esque, because that's was always one of Danny's strengths, wasn't
but
it?
This is what Danny is so strong and was so strong in Jerez and in Misano, is because his riding style, his natural riding style, is very much suited to the specs of the current bikes and the tires. So he's shooting really well, and in Misano, I mean, how impressive was he in Misano? He had the pace to be on the podium. He was incredible there.
Top 20 down to Frankie Morbidelli, covered by 1.2 seconds here. Pecco Bagnaia is 19th in that 20, and then you got Bradl 2.3 off and Pirro 2.7 off.
Yeah, the 2 replacement riders, so Bradl for Alex Rins and Pirro for Bastianini, that unfortunately picked up another injury, or 2 injuries actually, in Barcelona after making his mistake into turn 1. So a foot, ankle injury and a hand injury where he had to get surgery as well. So Bastianini is having a nightmare of a season so far.
Marco Bezzecchi on a fast lap here, but he's going to come up behind Brad Binder. Unfortunately, I think that might well cost him. Look at the drive then through the second part of the S's there up to turn 12. It looks fun to ride this racetrack, doesn't it? Looks like
let's see if he can make the pass in the last turn.
I think
not quite.
I think with Pirro on the outside, that just compromised them both, didn't it? It is FP1. Let's roll. Well, first practice of the weekend. So.
And it's Brad Binder as well.
That's another factor, yeah.
He's the one pulling the passes normally.
Oh,
turn 1, and again, it's so easy to run on there. They all would have seen Vietti's high side as well, so
yeah,
that's why they take it really easy there. Yeah, the paint does come off a bit, so it looks very slippy.
See the red and white marks, can't you, on the tyres when they come through? Pecco Bagnaia has gone out with that medium front tyre on at the end of the back straight. Gets it stopped. One of his great strengths, of course. Down into turn 5.
It does look like medium front working for Jorge Martin. Obviously Pecco trying it now, but it's just when grip's low, not easy for the riders to make the transition. With the soft you've got traction, you've got some stability and element of safety, but yeah, it does look the medium's going to be the one that will perform.
Early feedback, grip okay from Moto3 riders. Okay, bearing in mind, first session on a brand new track, you expect it to be dirty and everything like that. So, sounds promising, doesn't it?
Yeah, really promising. It sounds to me like it's going to be gripping up quite quickly, so we should be okay. Martin, fastest across, and does a 146.731, so he goes 86 thousandths faster than his own best time. That again changes the complexion of the weekend, so it's looking good. Apologies, I'm sitting down quite a lot and you're not hearing from me. We've been up 6 hours now, since 3 o'clock in the mornings, so 6.5 hours, something around that, and everyone's getting a bit tired, and we've still got more to do now, and with the session being delayed, yes, 4:15 is the new schedule for MotoGP, which I believe is, well, if it's 4:15 in India, I need to find the time in the UK. So for practice 2, you can join us at 11:45 as Vinales goes top with a 1:46.643. So 11:45 British summertime is when you can join us for practice for the MotoGP Indian Grand Prix. That will be live here on Twitch, uploaded later to YouTube. So if you're watching the YouTube premiere, it's on straight after this first session, so you don't need to worry or do anything like that for the moment. Fabio Di Antonio 1:46.894. Paul Espargaro goes 7th, 1:47.030. Closing in, Jorge Martin's sector times looking quite good. He's 3 tenths up actually in the middle sector, so yeah, not bad here for Martin in my books. As he'll swoop in, take in the nice exit speed, back on the power. Martin across the line goes fastest with a 1:46.610. So Martin jumps to the top 33 thousandths of a second faster than Maverick Vinales. And Bezecchi's improving now as well. Remember, this is only free practice. Bezecchi's setting red sector times on the board as he comes across the line. Marco Bezecchi, where is he? Well, Binder goes 11th, 1:47.118. Here comes Marco Bezecchi across the line, and he does a 1:45.990. That is 0.620 faster. So that's a very good time there. 6 tenths faster on that track. That shows you the improvement with a soft front tyre, medium rear tyre. That's very good for Marco Bezecchi. Luca Marini improving too, with 4 minutes to go in the session. Everyone's starting to get some times in.
The end of sector 3, so yeah, he nailed the last sector, although that's where Martin actually lost some time. So he was on the soft tyre, he was on a slightly better one until the last sector. So yeah, 45s. Who was the man predicted 45s yesterday? Was Marquez.
Yeah. You have to feel they'll get even quicker in the next session, and then going on into qualifying, maybe down to a 44s, 43s, maybe a high 43, something like that. Luca Marini up into second place, but still 6 tenths down on his teammate as the Ducati's starting to motor now late on in this session. Bagnaia still way down, but that's nothing to be surprised about, is it, with Pecco Bagnaia? We often see he's not a slow starter, but steady, isn't he? Just
Martin second.
He normally builds his pace on the Friday. It's not rare to see him on Friday morning not using new tyres, just working on the pace and working on his feeling with the used tyre on his setup. So he's not one to panic. Pecco Bagnaia, we normally see him just steady on a Friday, working on a race pace.
On board, out to the final corner, massive grandstand. Hopefully over the weekend, they're hoping for
Paul's crashed again.
To come in over the weekend.
Paul's crashed again, this time at turn 4. So Paul has crashed again at turn 4. Has his second one in this opening practice session. Oh, and there he is. So end of the straight, I reckon front stepped away from him. It's just, actually, he's up walking, but the bike is sort of just laid at the exit of the gravel. So he turns in, right-hander, front dips in, bike spins around, and he's left in the middle of the track going, what was going on there? What's he thinking? Well, who's he blaming there? There's no one to blame but the front dipped away. There's nothing you can do about that, Paul, I'm afraid. It wasn't your fault as they come through. Martin lap time cancelled for yellow flags. So is Marc Marquez. So their lap times becoming irrelevant at the moment with 2 minutes to go this session. So, yeah, 11:45. You can join us for all of the action for MotoGP. That's 15 minutes later than normal. That's the practice session this afternoon. Live on Twitch. Full premiere on YouTube later on. The same will be done for practice 2 and qualifying. YouTube will only have the Tissot Sprint and the Grand Prix live, same as Twitch. Everything else in delayed premiere types, just for now while we avoid Dorna, because it's getting worse. And to be fair, I'd rather do what we're doing now because there's Paul getting back up and running, because Twitch, very nice having you all on Twitch for MotoGP practice sessions, and then back in time for everything else later. So it does make a large amount of sense. So 1:45.990 for Marco Bezzecchi. That is your benchmark time with 2 minutes to, well, less than that actually. The timer's frozen on the TV screen. It's 34 seconds left then of the session. So the TV pictures are frozen. Our timings have kept going. It's usually the other way round in that respect. So that's good. With 24 seconds left until the checker flag comes out. Bezzecchi, Martin, Marini, 1, 2, 3. So good stuff for the Ducatis. Well, it's not good for Bagnaia. He's P12. Bagnaia's got a lot of work to do, but then again, he always struggles, doesn't he, on new tracks? So we'll see what time he has later on as they fight back. Checker flags out then, and the session comes to a close here at the Bud International Circuit in New Delhi, here in India. Marc Marquez is up by 22 thousandths. Is he about to take a very surprising top? Nope, down by 70 thousandths. Brad Binder was up by a tenth and a half. Now he's dropped 2 tenths as well in the sector. So he's lost out. Marini goes third. Di Giannantonio goes sixth. Nakagami goes into 9th position. So they're just changing the 2 deltas between them at the moment. Jack Miller, lap time cancelled for exceeding the track limit, so he's going to drop down on the more times. Binder's estimated P2. Can Marc Marquez take anything out of it? Checker flags out across the line, and Marquez goes second with a 1:46.129. 0.139 off the pace. Brad Binder goes third, 1:46.310. So good times at the moment from everybody. Ralph Fernandez fourth. A 1:46.371. Okay, so delta's being taken from everybody. This is good stuff. Good news, better news as well. Vinales goes sixth. Bezzecchi tops the session. Quartararo in the pits with those issues. Both bikes broken. Morbidelli in there, presumably for precautionary checks. Only 22 riders in this weekend, so the whole field on your monitors. And Augusto Fernandez so far down in 11th place, locking up into turn 1 as well, just getting it straight on. So, everyone takes the flag. A very interesting first practice session here for the Indian Grand Prix for MotoGP. It's Marco Bezzecchi, the fastest, 1:45.990, and then second we take it with Marc Marquez, Brad Binder third, Ralph Fernandez fourth, Maverick Vinales is fifth, Johan Zarco sixth, Luca Marini seventh, Jorge Martin eighth, Fabio Di Giannantonio ninth, Johan Mir rounds out the top 10. Augusto Fernandez is 11th, Takiki Nakagami 12th, Aleix Espargaro 13th, Alex Marquez 14th, Francesco Bagnaia 15th, Jack Miller 16th, Miguel Oliveira 17th, Paul Espargaro 18th, Fabio Quartararo 19th, Michele Pirro 20th, Franco Morbidelli 21st, and Stefan Bradl is 22nd. Not a bad session at all then here for MotoGP here at the Bud International Circuit. Bezzecchi, Marquez, Binder, 1, 2, 3. You can join us in 2 hours' time live on Twitch for the second part of practice day, the full practice. That'll be on YouTube later on as well. Well, thanks to you all for the company. We'll see you again later for practice, which will decide the running order for Q1 and Q2. Bezzecchi fastest, though, in the first ever practice session for the Indian Grand Prix. Bye-bye.